Hi, good day. Welcome again to our class, Chemistry 100B Laboratory. Last session, I asked you to read the electronic copy of the rules and regulations when working in the laboratory. So today, we're going to discuss these rules when we work in the laboratory. Kindly take out your copies and we will be reading these rules one by one. So let's start with when borrowing apparatus and materials in the laboratory. Number 1, it states that students work in groups of 3 or 4. Now, since we are in a pandemic and we are asked to have social distancing, so this rule cannot hold true. This means I will not group you into 3 or 4, but instead you will be working individually. Number 2, you will borrow the needed apparatus and materials from the counter. When borrowing the apparatus and getting the materials needed for your experiment, you have to fill up a borrower slip. This is provided at the laboratory counter. And after using this apparatus, you are going to return them back to the counter. You have to see to it that when you return this apparatus, you have to clean and dry them first. If you happen to break any of these apparatus while using them, then you will be asked to pay for it. Now let's go to the second rule. You are asked to make an experiment report. Every experiment that you have done in the laboratory, it is expected that you are going to make a formal report. Number 1, let's all read this. The official experiment paper with an HNU letterhead should be used for the first page of its report. For the succeeding pages, the ordinary long band paper may be used. Now, this official experiment paper can be bought from the textbook department or from the bookstore that we have. These reports are due 1 week after the completion of the experiment. These reports should be collected at the start of the laboratory period. Late reports will not be accepted. So, please submit your reports on time. Number 4, if the student lacks 30% of the prescribed number of experiments due to absence, unsatisfactory work, or late reports, the student will automatically receive a grade of 5. Number 5, if a student incurs a total of 10 successive or non-successive absences, he will automatically be dropped from the class. So, you have to be careful when attending the laboratory class. You have to attend every meeting because I am checking your attendance. Now, what is the format of this experiment report? I will be sending you the format through the Google Stream regarding the making of the formal report. Let's go to the safety precautions, the third part. Letter A, when working in the laboratory. When working inside the laboratory, always wear the lab gown. See to it that the lab gown is properly buttoned. Now, what is the purpose of wearing the lab gown? This lab gown is used to protect you from being spilled from the chemicals that you are going to use in the experiment. There are those chemicals which can harm your skin, and then they can soil your clothes or your uniform. That's why you have to wear your lab gown. Number 2, wear shoes that completely cover your feet. Do not wear open shoes or sandals when working in the laboratory. Why do we have to wear closed shoes? Now, the shoes will protect your feet. There are those times that you accidentally spill the chemicals and it might spill into your feet. So, if you're wearing your closed shoes, you are protected from the spillage. Number 3, tie back long hair. Take off jewelries and accessories. Now, why do we have to tie back the long hair? The purpose of tying back your hair is to prevent your hair from being caught from the fire. Because there are experiments in which you will be using the Bunsen flame. So if you will just dangle out your hair, there is a possibility that it might catch the fire. Number 4, wear protective goggles when carrying out experiments involving concentrated chemicals or while heating chemicals. The goggles are used to protect your eyes from the toxic vapors that might be emitted from a chemical reaction. So it is necessary to wear goggles. Number 5, eating, drinking, and smoking are not allowed. In the laboratory, you are not allowed to eat, neither to drink, neither to play. Now, consider that the water inside the laboratory is not safe for drinking. Please do not drink from any of the faucets that we have here in the laboratory. You are not also allowed to smoke inside the laboratory. Number 6, behave in a careful and cautious manner. The laboratory is not a playground. Now, when working in the laboratory, you have to be very extra cautious and careful. Do not play inside the laboratory, especially for those times that when you carry the apparatus from the counter to your working area, you need to carry them very carefully because there is a tendency that you might drop this apparatus. Nobody is allowed to play inside the lab. There is a tendency that you can cause a distraction while others are working seriously. Let's go to preparing to conduct an experiment. Number 1, read the details of the experiment that you're going to perform before coming to the lab. Now, since I am providing you with a laboratory manual, you have to read the procedure for the experiment of the day. So you have to understand what you are going to do, what you are going to perform before you come to the class. Number 2, plan your work with your group mates. However, because you are going to work independently, you are not working with a group mate, so you have to plan it by yourself. Number 3, make sure that you use the correct apparatus and materials. What do you mean by this? This means that for every procedure, there is an appropriate apparatus to be used. For example, when you are going to do filtration, that is a separation of solid from liquid, the appropriate apparatus that you're going to use are the following: the funnel, the filter paper, and the receptacle. which is usually the Erlenmeyer flask. Do not use any other apparatus aside from those three which I have mentioned when you are going to filter something. Number 4, make sure that you get the correct amount and concentration of chemicals. Now, when you are asked to get only 1 gram of the chemicals, kindly get the exact amount 1 gram. When you are asked to get 10 grams of the materials or the reagent or the chemicals, then you get only 10 grams. Do not get an excess amount of these reagents or chemicals. Why? Because there is a tendency that the extra chemicals or the excess chemicals will just be thrown into waste. You are just going to throw them into the sink or throw them into the waste basket. Now, there are chemicals which are very hazardous that if you throw them carelessly into the sink, and that chemical will come encounter with the water in the sink, there is a tendency that it might explode. For example, the sodium metal. This sodium metal reacts rapidly, violently, when it comes in contact with water. So, in that experiment, if you are asked only to get a small piece of sodium metal, then just get a small piece of the sodium metal. Do not get additional pieces. In cases that you get an excess amount of these chemicals or reagents, you are not asked to return them into the reagent bottles. Then you are also expected to get the exact concentration of the chemicals. Regarding the correct concentration of the chemicals to be used, you have really to observe the correct concentration. If the procedure calls for a dilute concentration of, let's say, an acid, you have to get the dilute concentration. Do not ever use a concentrated one. But if you are asked also to use the concentrated reagent, you have also to get a concentrated reagent so that you will get a correct result. Number 5, organize your work area by arranging the apparatus and materials on your table so you can work smoothly. Now, when you're going to work, you have to clear out your area. Do not place your bags nor books or other things on the table except only the apparatus and the materials that are going for the experiment. Because other materials such as your books, your things, your bags, they can cause distractions when you are going to work for your experiment. Other safety precautions in doing an experiment will be discussed next meeting. Last time I told you to pick up the hard copy of your laboratory manual on Tuesday, but kindly pick them up on Wednesday, August 19. That is the schedule for the medtech students to claim their hard copy for the Chemistry 100B Laboratory Manual. That's all for today. See you and God bless. This is your teacher, Professor Nesitas Ruiz.